this is gonna be my full business plan going into December to be able to make me hopefully $10,000 per month in profit split between me and my creator. So for anyone who doesn't know what growth operating is, it's basically just trying to monetize a content creator as efficiently as possible. So if they have other monetizations in place, you can remove those and then set in your own to make them double, triple, or like 5x, 10x your amount of money. It just depends on how experienced and how good you are at it. But anyways, my full business plan first starts by, of course, like the most important part of any side hustle. You're not really going to be successful without it, just the actual getting the clients. And the finding potential clients, the way that I found it best, just personally, is to think of people who I've watched and have wanted to work with, because it's not going to be a good relationship with you and your client if it's not someone who you would not enjoy being around and who you wouldn't respect either. So those are the ones that are going to be more difficult to get, especially if they have more and more following. But that's why you need to be good with your outreach method and make sure that you have an actual good offer to present to them. But anyways, if you don't have a specific content creator in mind, then just whatever your hobbies are, just go down like that rabbit hole and then find a bunch of people in your niche who you don't find annoying and make offers for them. But anyways, don't go after more than 5 potential clients at most. I think you can't really have a good offer to present to them like via a video if you're going after more than 5 clients. So that would be my suggestion. You can do it if you're got like 10 hours a day to work, but I personally would not. Anyways, marketing to those clients, like I said, you're going to make a specific video just like this to be able to send to those clients. And the way I'm doing it is I'm creating a whole entire document just like this to be able to send to the client of how I would be able to monetize their just content creation and overall like sales funnel significantly more effectively, and like all of the steps that I would take to do it. Obviously it can't be 2 hours, 3 hours, because no creator is going to want to watch that. But if you can condense it down to 5 to 10 minutes and just the most important points, and then discuss the more important points on an actual sales call where you go over the details and then eventually are able to drop the contract, then that is the best way to do it. And if you don't really know how, if you can't really explain to them in terms that they'd understand how you can make them the money that you're offering, then you should not be trying to work with them. But anyways, the actual sales part of it, just text with them after they've responded to your DM saying like, hey, I'm grateful for your interest in the product. Don't actually say those exact words. I'm just like just random right here. Actually like take time and think like, hey, would this sound good? Would this sound professional? But eventually just DM them and get them on a call. And once you go from there, you can be honest and like prepared on the sales call. Like that's very important. And then eventually go into, once they've said, yes, I want to do this, go into getting the contract signed. And then really after you have the contract signed, they'll be more comfortable letting you get a hold of their like Instagram and get a hold of their just any other socials that you would need to monetize their channel more effectively. Then for the actual product fulfillment, the number one most neglected thing that a lot of people will neglect is market research. And when you're doing market research, that's in simple terms finding out who is the audience of your creator, how much are they willing to pay, and what would they want to pay for. So some audience could have an average willingness to pay for like $10 of an offer, like that's the highest they'll go. And then other audiences could have like 10,000 that they're willing to pay on average. Like it's between like Mr. Beast kids and then like the people who are watching like Mark Cuban. It's like a very, very different offer for different brands and overall like atmospheres of content. But anyways, let's get back to the actual thing. Utilize the creator's DMs to understand the creator's audience and better like posting through story polls, and that really just answers questions for you on how interested people are in what you would be offering. So, like I said, just get an overall feel for what would be a good price. And once you go and like get somewhat of excitement for the offer, make sure you're DMing with people and actually asking, hey, what would be the most enticing offer I could possibly do? And then offer the early access into it. Now, with creating the actual offer itself, it just starts from really 9 times out of 10, the most profitable business model will be the community model. And that's just because it's renewing revenue with very, very little to deal with. But once you get into the community, you have to add the discussion tabs, design the course modules, and then have the creator film, then schedule the group calls on the calendar for the creator to go over all the aspects that they want to be able to teach. Then add the names for the levels, so it's not just like a level 1, level 2, you actually have like special names for them. Anyone who's been on school, this is going to make a lot more sense to people who haven't, but yeah, just once you are going through the process of creating a community, this will like just go through this and like this is all the stuff you need. But I'm not going to waste much more time on that. With a VSL, talk about like the desired result and how you can get them there with like as little resistance as possible. Because people don't really care. Like a lot of people say like tell your story, tell why they should care. Like it's not that important. Like having it in there as a little bit, but most likely if people are already following the creator, they know a little bit of their story. Like have the story be for about 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds, then cut it off there. Like no one wants to hear like a long-winded story about a fitness creator like, oh, I used to be fat as a kid, I was bullied, I was called names, it was just so tough. There's this one guy named Timmy. Like no one wants you to go down that rabbit hole. Like they would much rather just say like, hey, how can you help me? How can I get what I want to get through paying this money? So just the more logical side of it, I think, is a lot more beneficial. The more emotional side of it can work, and it's important to have both aspects, but I think having it significantly more logical is a lot better. Also, make stimulating like B-rolls, visuals, and other things to keep viewers engaged, especially if your audience is someone like with a low attention span. If you're going after any like really, really popular entertainment creators, the offer can work for them, but they would have to be very, very high up there. But just make sure if your audience is like a bunch of people who are like, it's a meditation creator, you probably don't need to make it that stimulating. But if it's a community on how to make graphic design, you'll probably need to make it a little bit more stimulating. Like you just know who you're selling to. And then obviously have the offer be insanely good. Like you yourself would want to buy it if you were not already inside and had access to it. Like make sure that it's a offer that would be incredibly good for both you and the person who is buying it. Don't have it be like, oh, I got their money. Like it's not going to be fulfilling, and it's also just like bad. Like why would you want to? Anyways, launching. So this is going to be a 5-day launch. And first, it starts by building hype and 3 stories describing the future, and then just like saying stay tuned, just like trying to start building up the hype and having people be ready to do it. Day 2, as I mentioned, having the poll is very important, and that's going to be doing market research as well. And then day 3, you're just announcement of the drop tomorrow. Then day 4 is just the actual launch. And the actual wording of it is pretty important. Like, just make sure the details really matter. Like in the initial launch, if you don't get the details right, that's like a big, that could be the difference between 2,000 in sales and like 7,000 in sales. So just make sure you spend a lot of time making sure the launch goes well. That's what I would recommend. I had a launch before that did not do the numbers that I was hoping for, and that was because it was too rushed. And of course, if you can do it in 5 days, that's great. But if you need longer, like, make it take longer. The launch is probably the most important part of all of this. But yeah, then the sales funnel, I like to keep it very, very simple. There are many, many people out there who have a lot going on, and for them, that's probably pretty good. But for me, I think it doesn't take that much to have a good sales funnel. At least if you're not trying to scale like significantly more and more and more. Like, you can upgrade it as it goes along, but I'm still like somewhat new in growth operating and community creation and sales funnels in themselves. So a simple sales funnel is still a sales funnel. Like, it'll work. Just, you don't need a bunch of flashy stuff if you want to make like 90% of the profits that most people are. With a low ticket product, like little to no sales funnel, have them DM you if they're interested, and then a lot of people try to like play games, like ask questions like, do you care about this? Do you care about that? What would make you want to be like, what would make you want to buy more? I think just if people are saying, hey, can I have the product? Just send them the product. And that should work the best. And if they're not going to buy the product, they wouldn't have bought it anyways if you asked them a bunch of questions. But anyways, a high ticket product, that is a little bit more, I don't have much experience with that, but I know I'm hoping to get more experience with that in the near future. And with that, it takes a little bit more of a sales funnel and more of a, not an elaborate approach, but just like a multi-stage process where it'll just be slightly more difficult. But because you have to qualify the leads, then you have to actually hop on a sales call with them to be able to have them buy your product. Because a low and medium ticket product, you don't have to hop on a sales call, because if you have a $20 product, if you have a $50 product, it's not really going to be that efficient if you're having like hundreds, 200, 300 people going in, because it'll be more efficient just for them to say like, hey, I want the product, and then they get the product, not a sales call. But yeah, high ticket product, I'm not an expert in that, but definitely make sure you get the sales call in there. Automations, you can do ManyChat. I know a lot of people are big on Go High Level, but ManyChat's just cheaper, so that's why I opt to use that. But yeah, it can be used for the market research, it can be used for the low ticket, and then high ticket, maybe Go High Level would be a little bit better, but low ticket, definitely ManyChat works with no problems. The actual maintenance of the growth operating and the growing of the community that you set in place, decreasing churn is probably one of the most important things after you actually launch, because that means if your churn just is at like 0%, then that means you can never have like a bad month, because as long as you get like one other customer, you're growing, because no one's leaving and everyone is going to be enjoying it. Like, if a community has zero churn, everyone in the community is loving it, or they just don't know how to get their money back. But it's not that hard, so hopefully it's the first one. Anyways, with the consistent leads, you can have the creator put like, DM me to get your like fitness journey started, or like comment to get like how I got, and then like DM them the actual offer. But having it be consistent is pretty important, because you don't want to just die out after the initial launch. When you're having a consistent product, you want it to be pushed out more and more and more. And I'd say at least like twice a week have some sort of, I forget the actual word for it, but just like marketing from the creator to make sure there are more people coming in. Then also, you can increase the price. There's some certain communities where I'd probably say, if your audience is not going to be able to afford that much more, don't increase the price. But if you know your audience can definitely afford it, it's not a bad move to increase the price marginally. Like, if you're going from $20 to $25, if you're going from $100 to $125, like, just make sure you're not going from like $20 to $200. Just make sure it's not that extreme where it'd be just insane and no one else would join, unless you just want to cut the community off like right there. But yeah, I don't think it's insanely important to raise the price at the beginning stages. Later on, it can be pretty important, but beginning stages, not all that much. There are many different routes to take for lead generation. I think there are just so many that I personally got overwhelmed with them. I think you need to just stick to one and then keep going on that. But you can have like a free community and then charge for the course modules and then weekly calls. So the actual product itself would just be the creator's courses and then the creator's time. And then you offer just the free community as a lead magnet to sell the courses and times. And then during the launch, the community could be free, and then besides the course, and then it goes to $20 a month. So that's just another approach of having an easy launch where you know you're going to get a lot of people joining, but it also doesn't make quite as much money, but it leaves less room for failure if people end up just not wanting as much of your product. You can have a free Telegram as a lead generator. I don't personally use that, but I have a friend who's big on Telegram, and he says it works pretty well. So I know that's a fair way to do it, but you can also have a free community that funnels into your onboarding and sales calls. Then have a free ebook. I also don't do that, but it can work. And then also using meta ads. I plan on doing that when I'm working with like a few months into a creator and have optimized like the other ways of marketing through like their actual audience and want to just gain more leads through like a consistent source. But it's not good to rely on that. I think organic is a lot better. But yeah, that's overall it. I know this video is probably not the most entertaining or the most engaging or the most skillful or fun at all, but this is my first format like this, so my hope is that it will slowly improve over time. But yeah, if you stuck through this, good on you. I think you can definitely get a lot out of it, but I think maybe 1% will stick through, probably less. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today, and thank you for watching.